Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you a game between Sergey Karjakin and Magnus Carlsen. The game was played in 2017 London Chess Classic Round 2. Let's see the game. White started with e4, it's placing a pawn in the center and controls d5 and f5 squares. Black does the same, he's putting a pawn in the center and he's controlling d4 and f4 squares. Knight to f3, a developing move that attacks e5 pawn, controls d4 and prepares d4 advancement. Knight to c6, black is defending the pawn and controls d4 square. White continues with bishop to c4, is a developing move that looks at the f7 pawn, which is the weakest point in black camp. The most played move in this position for white is bishop to b5, placing the bishop on the most forward square available, attacking the knight from c6. Black replied with bishop to c5. Black is developing his bishop and he's also looking at f2 pawn. This is the Italian game. Castle, white king is safe, and black continues with knight to f6, is a developing move, attacking e4 pawn, and prepares castle. d3 from white. The e4 pawn is defending, and the dark square bishop can be developed on g5, pinning the knight, or bishop to e3, attacking the bishop from c5. We can also notice that white placed all his pawns on light squares and the light square bishop is outside this pawn chain. Black continues with d6. Black does the same thing, he's protecting his e5 pawn and prepares the development of his light square bishop. c3. This move controls b4 square and prepares d4 or b4 advancement. Of course, before pushing d4, white has to protect his e4 pawn. This c3 move creates a retreat square on c2 for his light square bishop. Black continues with a6, takes control over b5 square, and also in the future he might play b5, attacking the bishop, and he might continue with bishop to b7, developing his light square bishop. a4, white prevents b5 from black. This pawn is creating a weakness on b3, but this cannot be exploited at this moment. Bishop to a7, a prophylactic move. The bishop is very well placed on this a7 f2 diagonal. White might play b4, kicking the bishop from c5. So black prevented this move from white by putting the bishop on a7. Rook to e1. With this move, white is placing his rook on the same file with black king. He's also defending the e4 pawn, and next he can play d4. Black continue with h6, another waiting move that takes control over g5 square and prevents bishop to g5, pinning the knight from f6. Knight bd2, this is a developing move, and this is a typical maneuver in the Spanish game, bringing the knight to f1 and then to e3 or g3, looking at the f5 or d5 squares. g5 from black black is expanding on the king side, and it seems that he wants to push g4, attacking the knight from f3. b4. This is a new move in this position. Usually white continues with his knight maneuver to f1. It seems that white wants to attack on the queen side with b5. Knight to h5 from black. It seems that the knight wants to go to f4, looking at the weak pawn from d3. Knight to b3. The knight is controlling c5 and is preparing d4. Also, the pawn from d3 is defended by the queen. g4, an attacking move on the knight, and white replied with a counter attack on the knight from c6 by playing b5. This is a valid move because if black takes on f3, white will recapture with the queen, and it's threatening mate on f7. The bishop and the queen are looking at this square. So it seems that in the game black took on f3, white queen recaptured, and the mate is threatened on f7. Black replied with queen to f6, and we see that the queens are exchanged. White is recapturing the knight, and black has double pawns on the c-file. d4. White decided to attack in the center. Another way was to attack the weak pawn from c6 with the move knight to a5. Bishop to e6. Black develops his last minor piece to e6. He's attacking the bishop from c4. And here white decided to take on e6. And after black recaptures, we see that black has 3 pawn islands. Also, we can see that on the middle island, black has double pawns on the c file and also on the e file. The pawn from c7 and the one from e6 are backward pawns. White continued with bishop to e3. With this move, white connected his rooks, and black took on d4. Looking back, it seems that after white played bishop to e3, the pawn from e4 was free. But if black takes on e4, the game might continue with like this. D takes on e5, knight takes on c3, black grabs another pawn, e takes on d6, c takes on d6, bishop to a7, rook takes on a7, and rook to e6 check, king to d7, and rook a e1. White doubled on the e file and threatening rook to e7 check, capturing the rook from a7. But in the game, black decided to take on d4, and white took with the bishop. And it seems that another exchange will occur. Black replied with e5. The bishop is attacked, and also the weak pawn from e6 moved to e5, and this pawn is protecting now. Here white took on a7, black recaptured with the rook, and knight to a5. White wants to take this weak pawn from c6. Another way for white was to play f4, and if black takes on f4, white can continue with e5, attacking the knight and the pawn. And of course, if black takes on e5, he will have 4 pawn islands. So in the game, white decided to play knight to a5, attacking the c6 pawn, and black defended his weakness from c6 with his king. Rook a b1, the rook comes on the open b file, and black replied with rook a8. So next, black will bring a rook on the b file, contesting this file. White continue with f3. This pawn is protecting the e4 pawn, and the rook from e1 can move and perform other duties. Black played rook a b8, so he's attacking the rook from b1, and white decided to bring the king to the center. In an endgame, we need to activate our king. So king to f2, and black played h5. Black wants to play h4, h3, creating some weaknesses on the king side. But white stopped this counter attack from black by playing h4. And black continued with rook af8. Black is placing the rook on the same file with white king, and he's threatening to take, sorry, 1 second, yeah, now it's fine, and black is threatening to take the rook from b1 and then take the pawn from e4 with the knight using the pin. White played king to e3. The king comes into the center, but the g2 pawn is hanging. That's why black played rook to g8, attacking this weakness, and white brings his king back, defending this pawn. Rook to f8. Black is threatening the same thing, to take the rook from b1 and then the pawn from e4. And after this move, white decided to repeat the position: king e3, rook to g8, king to f2, rook gf8, king to f3, and here the players agreed to a draw. I hope you learned something from this game. Please watch other games from my channel, and if you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel. See you soon. Bye.